Hey guys, Argifantes here, and today I bring you another Prismata game. This game became a mirror match, which is interesting because mirror matches use basically the same units, yet can diverge pretty drastically based on tiny micro decisions in how you play it out, and also which side you are, whether you're white or black. So if we look at the set here, we see we have a ton of really strong green-red units like Feral Warden and Sentinel, and even strong green units like Trinity Drone. So the unit of note here is Gaussite Symbiote. Basically, when you get the red tech, you can build a Gaussite Symbiote for your conduit and not have to worry about buying a conduit. Because we're going to use the green anyways, basically Gaussite Symbiote gives you one attack for 3 red, which is really good. And also, its ability to pay 3 green and sacrifice it is actually extremely strong, especially in the green-red mirror. So let's start the game. Both myself and my opponent are going to be rushing for Gaussite Symbiote. My opponent actually even cuts a drone to get the Animus, so he can get the first Symbiote, which is fine. He gets the Symbiote here and a drone. I also get the Symbiote, and I debated briefly about getting like a Rhino or something, but I think getting the green for Feral Warden is just good enough that I can afford to pay 2 to replace the Engineer I lose. And he gets the Warden and a Tarsier because he can afford it. And here I get a Warden also. I also get a Chrono Filter because I realized that my opponent is sort of 1 tempo ahead of me. We're doing the same thing, but he's doing it first. So I'm probably going to be the first person that's going to need walls. I do, of course, have 1 drone over him. Well, not anymore, because he just built the Trinity drone and a drone. He gets his second Symbiote, which is fine, because there's actually a lot of flexibility in the green. You can do stuff like even go for Antima Comet, or maybe a Feral Warden Sentinel, or you can even Trinity drone up. Defended with Feral Warden. I get the wall here. He has 4 attack. That's actually quite a bit. I also get my second Gaussite Symbiote. So here, he opts to go for the Chrono Filter, because now I also have quite a bit of attack, and he can't just keep on defending with Rhinos. I lose both of my Engineers, but it's not a big deal. Here I opt to go for a Sentinel. The Sentinel is a very cost-efficient unit. Essentially, if we look at it based on health, it gives you 4 Engineers and also 4 fragile health for 8 gold, a red, and a green. If you think about it, 4 Engineers already costs 8, so you're getting 4 bonus health for a green and a red. Of course, the 4 Engineers are over 4 turns, so if you're not going to get the full value by attacking 4 times, then the unit becomes less optimal. Yet, even if you only attack like 2 or 3 times, it's still pretty cost efficient for the amount of health it brings. And of course, it also has the 4 attack over 4 turns. Just all in all, it's a really strong unit. Of course, my defense is a bit awkward right now because I don't have any Engineers, so I can't soak up any of his attacks essentially. Everything that goes towards my units, if he attacks for like 3 or something, then there's nothing I can do. I just have to lose a wall. Whereas if I had a drone, then I could sacrifice the drone. But here, I know that the max attack he can attack for is 5, so I opt to not like create a force field or anything because that would just make him attack for 5, and there's really no point in him like holding back a unit to defend because all the Feral Wardens are at 1, so it really doesn't matter. He attacks for 5. Because my Chrono Filter was up, I opted to block with the wall first and then the Feral Warden, so I could keep the Feral Warden. And this way, I still have the wall. Because his attack for next turn is 6, I leave a drone back. He opts to buy a force field here, which is pretty standard. If you'll see here, I'll actually lose the Feral Warden over the wall because my Chrono Filter can't produce a wall next turn. I have to wait another full turn before I can get a second wall. So it's really important for me to absorb the 2 damage. Whereas if I had the extra damage from the Feral Warden, I would only be able to kill an extra engineer. Whereas this way, I get to save 2 damage on my wall. I build a Trinity drone of my own because it's so cost efficient, and 2 Feral Wardens. He builds a polywall because I'm starting to do more than 7 damage. This way he'll be able to soak some of the damage up on his Feral Warden. In this case, 1 damage. I briefly debate going Antimacomet here, but there's just no way I would have enough engineers and also defense to keep it going. Here I get a polywall because he had 8 attack total. So he can kill the polywall and then his 2 attack would just get absorbed by the wall. So I kind of do have a bit of efficiency there. I get another Sentinel, my first one ran out, which means next turn I actually have 4 additional defense from the Sentinel. So I can sort of afford to buy a second one instead of a Feral Warden for defense. Here I lose the wall because I have a Sentinel back on defense. I go for a polywall here, which, because I kind of have to, I would prefer to get a wall, but getting a wall would basically put me at 9 defense and would wipe out everything. The polywall at least buys me some time, even though I don't get to absorb anything this turn. So here, my opponent opts to pop his Gaussite Symbiote, which puts an immense amount of pressure on me. He has 14 attack this turn, whereas last turn he only had 9. So I'm gonna have to defend. But here's the thing, I actually have 6 green right now, so I can actually pop both of my Gaussite Symbiotes in a counterattack as long as I can defend his 14 damage. And I do so. So here, he does his big attack. I defend because I left the Sentinel back. And I respond with my big attack, which he doesn't really have a way to defend because he only had 2 green, not a lot of drones. And I wipe out most of his Feral Warden stack. At this point, I just pop a polywall because it's going to take him a long time to get back up to 6 attack. And the game kind of just ends from that point because now I have all the pressure. And yeah. So key things that game was I had Sentinels and he didn't buy Sentinels. So the Sentinels provided sort of a lot of defense and also a bit of pressure too. He actually had more Feral Wardens than I did, which meant he was attacking for a bit more. My defense is actually starting to crumble even with the Sentinels, and I think my opponent noticed that, which is why he went for the popping his Gaussite Symbiote play, and triggered the chain of events that led me to popping both of mine. If we go back to that point in the game, so still have 2 Symbiotes here, Trinity Drone, here it is. So basically he pops his, I pop both of mine, and both of us are basically scrambling for defense at this point. because he only attacked for 5, I was just barely able to hold out by cutting drones, whereas I attacked for 10, and he only has 3 drones, so he couldn't even force field that much, which meant there was really no good way for him to defend, and that's the game. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back next week with another interesting Prismata video. Until then, bye guys.